Hello YouTube and welcome back to The Theory Crafters, a show that keeps digging until we find a stronghold of knowledge. Welcome all to our new series on integrated Minecraft, a mod pack developed by Crazenlord, focusing on tying together a bunch of otherwise unrelated mods into one cohesive experience. On the mod pack page, it is stated that a goal with this pack is to make it feel like a Minecraft 2, and I can say that it succeeds with that goal. I have gone through the pack a couple times now, and I've enjoyed every second I played it, even if some of the later bosses have destroyed me numerous times. However, I am not here to review the pack for its gameplay. For that, I implore you to play it for yourself. The link is in the description. No, I am focused on the lore of this pack. You see, there is a lot of world building when it comes to this pack, as there are tons of structures all designed to fit seamlessly with one another. Today, we will be uncovering the story of the Stronghold, whose narrative is told through many books found within its chests. So without further ado, let's get started. Within the Stronghold's library, a book titled Our People's History is quite common within the loot tables. Immediately, we are given exposition about who these people were, albeit with a few words redacted from the codex. Quote, "We are an ancient race of blank travelers who hunted and gathered for food. Eventually, we settled down and began farming crops such as wheat, carrots, and potatoes. This gave us newfound time to build. Our passion is building. It is what makes us who we are. We built cities that stretched for hundreds of blocks. We were prospering. All that changed when the blank came." Right off the bat, we can assume that these are an ancient race of builders, as the number of redacted characters match the amount of letters in the word builders, as well as a statement of who they are on the second page. However, what is more ambiguous is the second word redacted, which is a shame because that is what supposedly brought an end to the land-dwelling habits of these builders. On the next page of the history book, we are given some clues as to who these invaders were. Quote, "The blank forced us to flee. They burned our cities and fields. They destroyed our home. That is why we settled in this mighty stronghold. It is a fortress underground that we hope they will never reach. Since then, we have made a life for ourselves underground." Here, we can start making assumptions of who these perpetrators were. We know that there had to be multiple of them, and they had to have possessed the abilities to start fires and to destroy. These clues, along with the amount of redacted characters, leads me to believe that these invaders were the Illagers. In the mod pack, there is a heavy emphasis on both villagers and Illagers. However, the Illagers seem to have gotten more of an upgrade when it comes to their roles. By use of the mod Illager Invasion, we are given two Illagers responsible for creating fire. The first one, the Sorcerer, summons magical fire that does not spread. And another, the Fire Caller, who does summon actual fire beneath the player which can spread to other flammable sources. The Fire Caller also appears to be at an older age, as not only its design but its behavior reads this way. The Fire Caller does not attempt to go into a fight unless cornered. Its fire wand and hunched posture also supports the idea that it is an older Illager. Skipping forward a page that only explains how the builders go about their days, the last page of the history book provides an important tidbit of knowledge that will become the catalyst for the development and eventual demise of the Stronghold civilization. Quote, "Since the fateful day that blank struck, we have looked to the skies for the mighty one above all. We believe that one day we will reunite with the one above all to stop the blank and create a better world for all of its inhabitants." Thankfully, the first redacted word in this paragraph is an easy answer, as if we read another book, we will know exactly what it is referring to. Quote, "On day 11 of living underground in the finished stronghold, a rock from the sky crashed to the ground into our dining hall. It was a light green-yellow color with craters speckled all over the surface. It crashed in the middle of the night. At 11:18 p.m., many of the blank nearby awoke to the noise and investigated. All those who approached it were met with visions they believed to be from the future. They all had the same vision. It depicted a mighty dragon flying through the sky." So the redacted word from the end of the history book aligns perfectly with the word asteroid, and the fact that the history book states it was a fateful day, the asteroid clearly has a profound impact on the Stronghold story from here on out. This will only become more clear as we continue the diving deeper into the lore of the Stronghold. Immediately following the event of the asteroid's impact, the book itself states that the people were divided. Some people believed that seeing the dragon was all there was, while others believed they saw the dragon helping build a better world. While the debate raged on, there was no doubt that there was now a blooming religious following after the asteroid fell. Quote, some of them went on to write the scripture and worship the one above all. They believed the one above all, or the dragon, will help them achieve the end, or a higher form. Since then, there has been a great divide among us on whether we should trust these visions and follow the scripture. The asteroid was taken by the disciples for further research. They do not disclose the location to the non-believers. As we explore the Stronghold, we actually see tons of religious iconography of the dragon almost everywhere. Statues and tapestries align the walls and halls of the Stronghold, and perhaps the most prevalent statue of the dragon lies within the church. Of course, within the church we see a lectern with a book simply labeled Scripture of the Dragon. Quote, we have one goal, to breathe beauty and life into this world through building. Our current form limits our ability to fulfill our imaginations, to realize our full potential. We must achieve the end form. The end form is the next step in our evolution. It is our full potential realized. The bounds of our mortal bodies would be lifted. We would be free to build. The end will be granted to us by the one above all. She needs us, her disciples, to fulfill her goals. With our help, the one above all will snuff out the fires of the forest. She will cease all famine. She will save the sick and needy. She will stop the blank from rising. She will elevate us to new levels. Together, we will transform this world into a sanctuary for all, free of violence, suffering, and blank. While this isn't all of the scripture, I wanted to pause here to point out that, quote, bounds of our mortal bodies and our current form. This implies that once the people are within the grace of the dragon, they will be transformed into a better version of themselves. While the story of the Stronghold certainly goes in the direction of transformation, calling it a better form is not exactly what I would call it. Another thing I would like to mention is the fact that it states, she will stop the blank from rising. The number of characters here does not match the word illagers, like a redacted word later in the same page states. Instead, it could be referring to the Wither, as in a vacuum this mod will only have itself and the vanilla game to pull lore from. Of course, this mod pack is meant to integrate mods with one another, but I don't think the statement of the stop the Wither from rising is too far out there, but I digress. Finishing the scripture, quote, we know this. We have already seen it in the rocks from the sky. She waits for us. With her thunderous roar, she waits for us. With her magical breath, she waits for us. Flying high in the sky, she waits for us, and we will find her. The religious activists in the Stronghold clearly saw the asteroid and believed it to be a sign from the dragon herself to find her. Unfortunately, this search does succeed, but the people that live down here would pay dearly. After the rock fell from the sky, some of the scientists that lived within the Stronghold took it somewhere they could study it and its properties. Perhaps whatever they find could potentially bring them closer to their desire of going to the end. Throughout the Stronghold, we see a number of different journals scattered throughout chests and barrels. In Mysterious Journal number 4, we read, quote, I haven't seen or heard from the researchers in months. They must be working on something. I heard it has something to do with the asteroid. Whoever wrote this journal also wrote the journal that came before it. In journal number 3, we see, quote, as I was researching enchanting late at night in the corner of the Grand Library, I witnessed other researchers emerging from inside of the fireplace. I was bewildered. There is a hidden chamber behind the fireplace in the library, and it is up to you to figure out the correct combination of levers to open the entrance to the room. Here, we see some interesting features. For one, we see a mixing station on the right, and some aurora crystals in the back. We also see some bookshelves that we can presume contains research, and a brewing stand in the back. All of these features are likely linked together by one common theme, alchemy, in research. Of course, the most prominent feature we see in the asteroid in the middle. We know that this is the asteroid as the sign in front of it translates to asteroid. Within some of the chests in this room, we see a book labeled The Secret Lab. When read, it states, quote, this newly built, as of day 225, hidden lab behind the Grand Library is devoted to extraterrestrial research and development. The main goal behind this research is to find a way to reach the one above all. Inevitably, we know these researchers find a way to activate the end portal, where the dragon remains. This is because in Mysterious Journal number 7, we read, quote, the explorers just arrived back home from their expedition through the mysterious portal device. Well, one of them did, to be specific. According to them, the rest of the team was killed by the one above all. The one who returned was scarred and bruised, but the strangest thing was an obscure infection of darkness upon his head. I have been attempting to treat him the past few days. He has slowly been going insane and the infection is spreading. I just noticed a black spot growing on my arm. I hope this is not the infection. If it is, we're all doomed. There are a couple of things of note here. For one, we now know that people are likely starting to change their perception of the dragon, as this lone survivor sees the true nature of the one above all, not friendly. Unfortunately, this survivor would not be saved and would pass on. In fact, this infection would prove so devastating that just over a week later on day 315, the author of the previous journal would write, quote, "I am the last one left." After the expedition through the portal, an infection spread throughout the stronghold rapidly. All who caught it turned into beings of darkness with glowing purple eyes. Maybe the one above all is not as benevolent as we once thought. Maybe this is the end form. It is only a matter of time before I have to leave to restock food and water. For now, I'll hide in here. It is clear that everyone in the stronghold who caught the infection inevitably became the Enderman. If you still aren't convinced, 2 days after the previous journal entry, the author decides to put an end to the infection, as he believed that the infection is coming from the portal. With this reasoning, he tries to deactivate the portal. Quote, "I am going to make the journey down to the portal room to deactivate it. I hope by doing this, I can prevent more from being infected by blank. My plan is to lock the portal behind the eyes of darkness and magic." While we know that he succeeds, as it is written in the journal that follows the last one, not all goes well. Quote, "I caught it. On my way back from deactivating and locking the portal, I was met with a shadowy figure that resembled blank. They snuck up behind me and hit me. Since then, I have felt queasy and felt an immense hatred of water. How strange. My skin has also started to be consumed by darkness. It's only a matter of time before I am fully infected." Here, we learn that the infection can spread even if the portal is closed. However, I don't believe that Endermen alone are the ones able to transmit this disease. You see, multiple areas of the stronghold are overrun with entities called shadow walkers. These things are simply inky black shapes that resemble humans, native to the shadowy forest of the End biome. But what are they doing here? I believe that the Ender infection has at least 2 predetermined stages. After the initial infection, it could be reasonable that the skin of a person would turn shadowy black, and the later stage is when the victim becomes the Enderman. In all stages of infection, the victim is highly contagious and can spread rapidly throughout the body. This unfortunately happens to the author of the journals, and he quickly succumbs to the disease and becomes nothing but someone doomed to walk in the shadows of outer space. We know that the End dimension is one clouded with shadows and likely can serve as a final destination for those infected by the End's influence. We know this thanks to the courtesy of iron spells and spellbooks, which includes an armor called the Shadow Walker set, which grants an additional 10% spell power to Ender spells. Within the End, the souls of previous adventurers and builders roam. They make up the ecology of the End and are bound by some environmental factors. In the case of the Shadow Walkers, they almost appear to be warped within the shadowy forest biome until they eventually mature enough into Endermen to move out of their initial biome. It appears that the Stronghold's council may have known more about the infection in the End than we thought, given a series of meeting logs we see written. Found throughout various chests within the Stronghold's kitchen and dining area, we can find 4 meeting records written by what we can presume to be the council. The first meeting record is nothing to write home about, as it explains the use of the Grand Library and the hidden room within it. We've already explained the library in this room previously, so we can now move on to the important meetings. In meeting log number 2, the topic of the Ender expedition is discussed. Quote, "During this all-important meeting, we decided to send blank, 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 and blank through the mysterious device locked away deep within the stronghold in hopes that we may finally find the one above all waiting us there." This is the first expedition where the infection first broke out, and the infection itself is talked about in the next meeting log. Quote, "After the deaths of blank blank, we decided to quarantine blank in the prison. We hope this can save the rest of us from the infection that consumed the other victims." Now, while there are prisoner journals, not one of them is written by the person they are referring to in the meeting, which I believe may be the one who was in charge of treating the infection of the lone survivor from the expedition. Blank blank is likely referring to that lone survivor who we presume died from his infection. Regardless, by attempting to quarantine the infected in the prison, it was likely that the infection spread to the other prisoners. The quarantining did not achieve a reduced sick count, but rather accelerated it. However, there are multiple mentions of the council not being as great as they should be within the prisoner's logs. In prisoner journal number 2, we see, quote, "Today I was sent to prison by the council for stealing cake from the kitchen. I'm not denying that I did it, but prison? For stealing a cake? The council goes too far sometimes. I hope they vote to release me sooner than the 1-week sentence I got." While this note is admittedly quite silly, it illustrates a decent point. The council can be cruel and unforgiving for even the simplest misdemeanors. This point will only be more clear the deeper we read into the prisoner's logs. In journal number 3, quote, "I attempted to break into the research lab to destroy research on the asteroid. The researchers must be stopped. They are tampering with dark powers they know nothing about. They will kill us all. And in journal number 4, we read, quote, I was sent here for refusing to believe in their flying mystical hunk of junk, the one above all. I don't believe they really saw her in visions. I don't think she even really exists. I think the researchers are using it to justify their dangerous experiments. There are a couple of inferences we can make from the prisoner's logs. The most important one, however, is that the research being conducted on the asteroid in an attempt to reach the Ender Dragon causes far more harm than good, and is quite dangerous. In journal number 5, we read, I broke their stupid rules and escaped to the surface through caves, and upon returning they are torturing me for information. They want to know if I saw the blank up on the surface and what they're up to. I'll never tell them. They treated me with kindness, unlike the council. Once again, we are told about how the council is cruel. Finally, to add to the point of torturing methods being employed by the council, we read prisoner journal number 7. Quote, after studying the asteroid with the researchers, I came up with a recipe for the blank blank. Once I realized how dangerous it could be, I decided I would keep it a secret. One of them found my notes and realized all they need is a recipe. They threatened to use all sorts of spikes and mechanisms of pain to get me to reveal the recipe. This is pretty clearly meant to be the recipe for the end portal. Later levels in the Stronghold reveal to the player how to craft the end portal, so that is an easy thing to discern. However, while the researchers aren't directly part of the council, they seem to share some of the same temperament as the council. As written in the journal, they threatened to torture the researcher who wouldn't give up something they knew would be dangerous. We actually see some of these torture methods within the Stronghold itself. Adjacent but not directly connected to the prison, we see what can only be described as a torture/execution chamber, complete with an electric chair and an Iron Maiden. The prison also seems to have the highest concentration of shadow walkers, implying that the council sent more people down to the prison than we know of. In the History of Our People book, we see mention that there was an entire society that lived down here. A society built on the division of labor, likely chefs, knights, religious leaders, and other professions. Among these other professions, explorers were certainly not in short supply. In an effort to expand their outreach beyond the stone walls of their underground fortress, the people likely employed the use of nether travel. There is a room within the Stronghold that has an enormous yet deactivated nether portal along with nether flora. There is even a book within the Grand Library detailing the type of fauna they found while exploring the scorched hellscapes of Minecraft's nether. They even have a stockpile of gold, as they knew it is useful in the nether. There are also remnants of their adventures to the end, not just in their infection, but crawling up the walls. You see, there are a number of skulk influences found throughout the Stronghold. Within the secret lab, we see a skulk vein with a precariously placed shrieker. Within the prison, we see that one of the cells has been entirely overrun with skulk. We know that this isn't a generational coincidence because even outside of the deep dark biome, these features still generate within the Stronghold. The skulk vein within the prison is actually quite interesting. Covered in the heads of Endermen, it almost appears that the infection creates this conglomerate of bodies all bonded together through skulk. I don't believe these Enderman heads were because people killed the infected. Why would they? They used to be one of their own, and even if they did, would it be necessary to display their heads on the wall? And would their eyes still be glowing with life if that life was taken from them? I don't believe so. No, I think that the infected people are still alive, but congealed with one another. Unable to move from their skulky mass, they are both figuratively and literally imprisoned by their own hubris. Their souls swirled together within the singular skulk shrieker in the middle, acting as their only way to hear their voices. Sadly, however, it is the mesh between all of their voices as they have lost all sense of individuality. This, unfortunately, is seen again within the portal room itself, with skulk tendrils drooping from the ceiling, also covered in Endermen's heads. Was this what awaited the builders? Is this what their fate became? I believe so. From the documents found within the structure, the society was thriving. They had agriculture, they had culture, they had jobs, and for all intents and purposes, they had a functioning civilization. If only they hadn't opened that damn portal. We know that the skulk must have come from the end portal, as we can see that skulk seems to be coming from the center of the frame. One last thing I would like to mention is the guardian of the portal. Up until now, we have neglected to mention the knight that guards the end portal. The guardian is what is called the Ferrous Wrought-Knot, meaning hammer-made iron knight. This thing in shining armor is neither men nor statures. According to the boss codex entry for the Ferrous Wrought-Knot, quote, lost underground many years ago, these heavily armored knights are not men nor are they statues. Are they guarding something? They have forgotten what. Are they waiting for something? They have forgotten when. Are they mourning something? They have forgotten whom. All they know is to slay those who approach their chambers. The implications of how long it has been since the Stronghold collapsed is present in the entry. As it states, the Rot-Knot has forgotten the reason for its purpose, so it defaults back to just acting on its purpose. It doesn't know why it's doing what it's doing, just that it needs to do it. I believe that the Rot-Knot was built by the author who deactivated the End portal, in hopes that it would discourage anyone from entering the portal again. Fast forward years later, and we find journals from a lone traveler. This traveler detailed that this is an ancient stronghold made by ancient people and was corrupted by dark magic. This magic, of course, refers to the End and the Skulk. There is not much else to discern from the traveler's journals, just that they did not quite make it to the End portal and instead perished somewhere on their way back. The story of the Stronghold in integrated Minecraft, as in-depth as it is only the beginning. There is so much lore to Minecraft 2 that it is going to take us a while to get through it all. For this reason, instead of going through it all in videos one after the other, we will also sprinkle in some one-off episodes for other mods in between the episodes for this one. This is to prevent us from burning out and to prevent you guys from getting bored. Next on Integrated Minecraft, we will begin talking more in depth about the Illagers. As stated previously in the episode, they received a generous expansion and it will all be interesting to go deeper into their story. Who they are, their rivalry with the villagers, all that good stuff. If you made it all this far, we thank you for sticking with us. It has been a tough summer for me personally and was unable to get things out on time, and for that I apologize. I hope to see you all in the next video. Wait, before you go, be sure to check out our previous 2 series on Cataclysm and Alex's Caves, as well as the previous 2 episodes of Cooking with Piam. Go show her some love.